Phoenix Splash TV. Today on Musician Spotlight, we'll be looking at a member of X Japan who goes by the name of Pada. Now, when people think of X Japan and guitars, their minds usually jump to Hide, and it's no surprise with Hide's loud and bombastic personality. But when you look across the stage, you see his polar opposite. Whenever I saw Pada play live with X Japan, I always thought he was the cool one. In the early days of X Japan, each member seemed to have characters, Yoshiki and Hide being really dramatic, almost as if they were in a musical. Toshi kind of had the role of a narrator or storyteller, and of course the crowd pumper. I always saw Pada and Taji as just normal regular people. I mean, sure, Taji had a motorcycle gimmick, but that's pretty much who he was in real life. Pada pretty much had no gimmick at all. He would just go up there on stage and play his parts. He would never scream into the mic or try to pump up the crowd, and if he did, it was pretty rare. He was the calmness to Hide's craziness, and the calmness to X Japan. So, who is Pada? Well, no one really knows. Yes, he does have a real name, which is a little bit too confusing for my little Western brain to pronounce. And he was born in Chiba, Japan. But as far as the world is concerned, Pada pretty much popped into existence in 1980. After teaching himself how to play the guitar, he started a band called Black Rose. This band, like many other bands, would keep rotating members for different live performances. During these rotations, X Japan founder and drummer Yoshiki would sometimes play drums for Pada's band. Pada was pretty impressed with Yoshiki and even asked him to join his band, but Yoshiki declined. This wasn't the only time the two would cross paths. During this time, X Japan was also going through the same thing, where different members were rotating left and right. Through this process, they met a guitar player named Holly who had a roadie named Pada. It is said that Pada used Holly's guitar when he eventually joined X Japan. At first, he was listed as a session musician. He first played on the songs Stab Me in the Back and No Connection. After a few live performances, Pada finally joined the band, and the rest is, as we say, history. Now, even though Pada is not really seen as one of the main composers of X Japan, he is credited to writing 2 of their songs. Pada seemed to have the role of writing transitional songs. He wrote a transitional song for Voiceless Screaming and Drain. Here's a sample from White Wind from Mr. Martain, which is also called Pada's Nap, which leads into Taji's song called Voiceless Screaming. Now here's a sample of a song called Wriggle, which he co-wrote with future bass player Heath, and this song leads into Hide's industrial rock sounding song called Drain. Now, if you listen to Voiceless Screaming and Drain, they are really different in song styles compared to the other songs that were on their respective albums. So a transitional song was used to ease that style into the listener's ear. I just find it interesting that Pada is credited to writing both of the transitional songs. But this begs the question, does Pada actually compose music? And the answer of course is yeah. He's done many solo songs and he has worked with Hide and Heath on multiple songs. He's had multiple acts after X Japan too, like PAF, or Patent Applied For, which is a hilarious name for a band, and of course the Dope Heads, which consisted of Heath from X Japan, and INA, who was a percussionist and programmer for Spread Beaver. His main solo act seems to be Rain, which is an instrumental rock band. The music for this band is pretty hard to find, but once you do, you hear some pretty cool stuff. Many of Pada's compositions seem to be very improvisational, meaning that he makes them up on the spot, which is pretty cool and pretty difficult. Even though it's improvisational, there's still some structure. He even utilizes pretty precise tempo changes. This songwriting style is very different from X Japan. If you're interested in Pada's songwriting style, then I would check out Rain. And Rain is still playing today and is even performed in the US. I used to call him the Japanese Jimmy Page because he looked a lot like him, and he actually plays a bit like him too. In the We Are X documentary, he finally mentioned that Jimmy Page was in fact one of his influences, which put a smile on my face. And yeah, so that is Pada, definitely one of the more underappreciated members of X Japan, but nonetheless, he is pretty darn good at what he does. While it's true that some people point out mistakes that he does live, as a musician, it doesn't really make me think less of him, because mistakes happen all the time when you're actually playing your instrument, which he does. He's a man that keeps on rocking and will hopefully continue to do so in the upcoming years. So what do you think of Pada? Leave that in the comments below. And who do you want to see in a musician spotlight next? Bass player Taji Sawada or bass player Heath? Leave it in the comments below. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you for watching. This is Josh the Music Man, signing off.